Hi, good afternoon. My name is Akash Jain. I am with Multifamily Legacy Partners, and today I am very excited to be talking to Kevin Gardner from Multifamily Utility Solutions to talk to us owners about how to optimize and increase your NOI. This is a part of our know Your Noise segment and how to increase your NOI for multifamily operators. So, Kevin, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Thank you, Akash. I'm Kevin Gardner. I'm the president of Multifamily Utility Solutions. We've been in business now for 12 years, and we help you multifamily property owners and their property management companies across the country, like you said, to improve their NOI through assistance on their utilities.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. When we talk about utilities, Kevin, this is, hey, apart from your insurance and your property taxes, which are the uncontrollable expenses, utilities generally are your biggest expense on the controllable side. Help me understand as to what are the various different utilities that your company and yourself help optimize for multifamily operators.
Well, the one that we do the most of is the cable and the internet access agreements. And there's a couple of different types of agreements there. And it really comes down to whether or not you want to provide the service as an amenity. There's a trend in the industry where especially with A class properties in certain markets, where internet is being included in the rent. So we help negotiate the rate for that internet service at a price where you can then mark it up and you can increase your rent because of the value of that amenity by more than you're paying for it. So you can then make money on a monthly basis off your internet service by providing it as an amenity. Now, if you don't want to do that and you don't want to have that sunk cost, what we can do is negotiate a marketing agreement where you'll be paid an upfront, depending on the market, you'll be paid an upfront incentive to sign that agreement to help market a specific service like Spectrum or AT&T or Frontier or Comcast, one of those. And then you'll be paid a commission or a revenue share. So these are ways to increase the revenue on your property through the cable and the internet. And we can do that almost anywhere. That's a anybody that's got over 20 units in one space, we can usually get something done for that. Obviously, we're going to be able to get you paid more for the larger the property and the more number of units, but it's definitely an opportunity worth looking at. So that's one way we can generate revenue for you. Now, on the opposite side, where we look at expenses, we have a utility broker who looks at gas and electric usage and tries to see if there's a better rate available. Unfortunately, this is only available in deregulated states, which there's about 14 of them right now. So that's not available everywhere. And it also comes down to how much usage do you have, right? If you've got a small property where you've got no main office, no workout facility, no pool, individual washer dryer, and you're not paying for the utilities, then the chances are not very good that we're going to be able to help you much there. If you've got a large property, a couple hundred units, you've got workout facilities, pools, laundry rooms, things like that, those are the ones that where there's the greatest opportunity, is assuming that they fall into a deregulated market, which is basically a competitive market. Some states that are regulated, the rates are fixed by the state government, in which case there's no opportunity. There's not a second choice or third choice in those markets. So that's a way
Got
that
it.
we may be able to save you on your energy expenses.
Got it. So, we talked about obviously the internet and the utility bill from the electricity perspective. Let's maybe chop that down a little bit. So,
Okay.
talking about the internet services provider and the TV services provider. So, you typically work with which big companies? If you can give me an example.
Well, we've done some work for you in some of the markets, and we've talked to both AT&T and Spectrum. It comes down to a couple things. There's the incumbent providers who are in the market already. They're the major providers, residential providers. If it's cable, it's usually Spectrum, Cox, or Comcast. If it's the traditional what used to be called the phone companies when they first started, that's what they did. AT&T, Frontier, Brightspeed, Quantum Fiber, companies like that. So we always talk to them because they've already sunk the cost to provide service. So the deals we get from them are typically better than a smaller independent person who would have to pay capital to put facilities on your property. That's why that tends not to be as favorable, but there are circumstances where it is. And so we try and go through, and that's why we do a free assessment. First thing we want to know is where's your property? Who are the providers? How big is it? Is there any contract in place already? And we go from there. So, that's really what it comes down to is who are the providers, what market, how big is the property, and then what are your goals? Do you want to provide this as an amenity or do you not? Do you want to have that fixed cost expense that you're going to have to pay every month? Now, in theory, you're going to make it up in your rent because you're going to pay more or you're going to get more than what you're paying. But it is a little bit of a risk because it does become a fixed expense.
Got it. So, hey, let us, I think I'm aware of a little bit of what you're talking about, but for our viewers, let's break that down further. I believe you're talking about two different agreement types that we typically have with the communication services provider. This is a bulk agreement and a marketing agreement. Why don't you talk to our viewers about what is the difference between a bulk agreement and a marketing agreement, please?
Right. So the bulk agreement is the one where you're paying for service in bulk from a provider for all units. And that's the one where you have the fixed expense, but you also have the opportunity to mark it up, include it in your rent, or assess an additional fee. And by doing that, you can usually make more than what you can on a marketing agreement. But with a marketing agreement, you don't have that liability. You don't have that fixed expense. I saw a lot of people during COVID who maybe signed bulk agreements that regretted it because they had that whole unknown, right? They didn't know if they were going to be able to get, if somebody wasn't able to pay their rent, how were they going to, do that, and what were they going to deal with having to pay their liability still. So that was part of it. And then the marketing agreement, you still do make revenue, but there's no liability on it, right? So it's a lower reward, but also a much lower risk. But in either case, we can help you make revenue and increase your top line of your P&L.
Excellent. So that's a checkbox for increasing your NOI, folks. Increase your NOI with some of these cable and communication services provider. As we dig deeper into the same issue or same utility, if you may, Kevin, you and I have previously talked about something called a door fee as well. So help our property managers here, help our owners understand what that door fee means in either of the agreements.
So a door Yeah, so a door fee is usually included in both a bulk agreement and a marketing agreement. And the door fee is the one-time incentive that the provider gives you to enter into that agreement. So it's a fee times the number of doors. So let's say it's $100 times 100 doors. It might be a $10,000 one-time incentive that's given to you once you sign that agreement. So you've got the one-time incentives, and then you've got the ongoing revenue share or commissions or the markup that you have on a bulk agreement.
Got it. So let me break this down, maybe simply, right? Hey, in a marketing agreement, you're signing a 3, 5, 10-year contract with the provider. You get a one-time door fee of say
Hmm.
$100 times 100 units, $10,000 upfront.
Yep.
But then you get some kind of a revenue share on a monthly basis. But the responsibility of billing every tenant falls on the shoulders of the communication provider themselves.
Basically, yes. The agreement is typically 10 years for a marketing agreement. It's usually 5 years for a bulk. The one-time incentive, I think the eclipse is rolling in here for me. Um, but the
If you want to take a break, that's fine too, Kevin. We can stop the recording and come back.
uh, no, I mean, how's the quality? If the quality's okay, we can keep going.
Okay. Yep. I know. I think it's coming out great. Yeah.
All right. So the incentive, you get a door fee with each, right? And then marketing agreement is the providers. The providers bill the residents directly. You're not involved in the billing, and you do get a. Sometimes it's monthly, but more commonly it's quarterly payment from the provider based on their customers, the revenue that they've generated. So in an exclusive marketing agreement, what you're really going to end up doing is providing your leasing agents materials to say when somebody new moves in, hey, even though AT&T and Spectrum are both here, Spectrum is our preferred provider, and you want to encourage them to get your exclusive marketing provider service as opposed to any others that may be available in the market.
So does the resident have a choice? Are the
They,
residents free to choose anybody?
well, they're free to choose anybody that's on your property, yes. You, as the property owner, have the ability to say who's on and off your property, right? But you wouldn't necessarily, if you've got two providers already on property, you're not going to go ahead and ask one to leave. You don't have to because that's disruptive, right? But if you go with bulk, you're giving that to them as part of their rent as an amenity. You may still have another provider on property, but the chances of them having much business is not that great, right? Because who's going to want to pay for service that they're already paying for in their rent?
Got it. Got it. Got it. Excellent. And in the bulk agreement, if you may, so switching over to the bulk agreement conversation, in the bulk agreement, you are getting a per door fees also.
Yes, in both there is a one-time upfront incentive to sign that agreement. Okay,
Got it.
and
And those are typically your 3 to 5 years, or is it typically 5 years? How does that work?
the bulk agreement is typically 5 years, right?
Got it. And then hey, so you can mark it up for whatever, right? So if you're getting the service from the provider at 30, $35, you can mark it up to 50, $60. I would
You can mark it
assume.
up to the rate card in the marketplace. You can't charge above what their rate card that's filed with the local municipality is, right? So if their rate card is $50 for something and you're paying 35 for it, you can't charge 75 for it.
So you can charge up to 50 based on the
Right.
market there.
Correct.
Excellent. And then also, I believe one of the other incentives for bulk is that, hey, your common areas are included in there. So as a property owner, your office, your laundry room, your common areas in the around the complex, you would get free internet or free service for that.
Not necessarily, no, because um, so you would, if you're over 100 units, we typically have one one free account in a common area, but it's not in your office because the office service that you're going to need is a business service level service, not just a common residential service. Okay. Um, if you go with something that's called managed Wi-Fi, which covers the entire property, then you can pick up those other common areas. But on bulk, you're not going to get those common areas covered.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
Okay. So it depends on your goals. And that's why it's hard for me to tell you because I need to know what are your goals, right? Are you trying to cover so that you've got, do you have cameras that you need covered? Do you have, do you want, access by the pools or do you just want it so the resident has it in their specific unit?
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Well, another question around the bulk itself. So, do you start paying day one, or is there a ramp up time there?
It could be it could be either. It depends on how you're going to implement it, right? So because they know that it takes 12 months for all leases to expire, right? And you can't go back to me if I'm a resident at your property and say, hey, oh, by the way, Kevin, your rent's going up, but we're also going to give you free internet service, right? I've got a lease in place that says this is what my rent's going to be, this is what's included. They will typically give you a 12-month period to ramp that up, and that gives you the ability to include it as leases expire. But once you've hit the 12 months, then you're paying for all units and you continue to pay. This is one of the downsides to a bulk. You will pay for all units the remainder of the contract, even if the resident doesn't want it, doesn't use it, or if the unit may not be occupied. You're still paying for all those because they don't have the ability to fluctuate it. And, if they had every property out there that said, well, how many do you have this month and how many do you have that month? It would be, they'd need a team of, a bunch of people to dozens of people to try and keep up with that. So once you get to the full 12 months, you're keeping, you're paying for all of them.
Got it. So again, I think let's again like simplify it for our viewers. So hey, if you have a bulk contract, you may get a door fee to begin with, 100, 150, $200. Obviously negotiable there. So if it is at $100 per door fee, you'll get $10,000 upfront to implement that. You will have 1 year ramp up. Generally speaking, you'll have a 1 year ramp up to so that hey, you can have each of your residents opt in for that internet or that TV service, if you may. Then, if you're getting a service for say $35 in bulk from the communication services provider, you will have to pay $3,500 per month if you're a 100 unit complex, and if your rate is $35 in bulk. But you could be charging $50, $60 to your residents, again making up that difference depending on how many residents take it. You could be making $5,000 to $6,000 on revenue minus the $3,500 that you have to pay of bulk. So there is definitely some profit there. However, the risk is yours as well because not everybody may sign up for that, but you're on the hook for $3,500 every month. Did
Correct.
I get that correct?
That's correct. And a couple other things. That's why we really like to understand your property, right? We want to know, is this a generational property where you're going to hold for generational wealth? Or is it a syndicated property where you're trying to take a property from a C to a B or something like that, and you need to get out of it in 3 years? You may not want that bulk because the new owners, here's the other thing. You can go from exclusive marketing to bulk, but you can't go from bulk to exclusive marketing because the providers prefer that you take bulk. It's better for them. They count all the customers. They don't roll as many trucks. Operationally, it's much more effective for them. So they prefer that. So if you have a marketing agreement and want to go to bulk, they will allow you to get out of the marketing agreement to get into a bulk because that's what they prefer. Whereas if you're in the bulk, they don't want you to go out of it. They won't allow you out of that. So if you're looking to sell the property, sometimes that's something to take into account as well. Is let me not do force the new owner to take bulk because what if they're absolutely opposed? I've got several owners that just I don't want to mess with it. I don't want the liability. It's not part of what we do. Let them worry about who they get it from, and they are less likely to buy a property that already has a bulk agreement in place. So those are a lot of the different things that we like to help you understand because every property is different, right? I mean, just when you go to buy a property, right? You're going to look at this 100 unit property is different than this 100 unit property, right? And what I'm willing to pay for this and do here is different than what I'm willing to pay for this and do here. So we help you make those decisions by giving you information from finding out what your property is like. A class properties more likely to be willing to take bulk. C class properties less likely.
Got it. What about so hey, when we talk about hey, selling the property, what about I'm assuming the contract stays with the property. That's
Correct.
why a new owner may not want to take over a property which has bulk.
Correct. The agreement, there's an assignability clause in all of these agreements that goes with the property. So you can buy out, but on a bulk, you're going to have to buy out almost the entire remaining term, and it's very costly to do that. So yeah, and that's why, like I said, if you're in exclusive marketing and you want to go to bulk, that's an easy transition. The new owner can say, "Oh, I want to do bulk," and they can do it, no problem.
Got it. Give me a second here.